Okay, it can be better. It's always room for improvement. A lot of, running around.
Mhm.
Oh boy. But not complain.
Cool.
Let's see if I can let me put a pillow in here so I can feel more comfortable. What's with my neighbor? Um, we actually having a battle with her. She's 100 years old. And just, trying to see how we can help her with her, cares and all that.
Yeah.
She was just released from the hospital not too long ago. And well, let's see. Let's see, what do I need? I'm not sure I am looking correctly. Well, let me get also my agenda. So you already been co-hosted?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
able to
Rita,
share my screen. So that's really all I need, right? To be able to share my screen and for
yes.
people to hear us.
Yeah, we just want to
Let's
make
see,
sure
let's
that the
see.
sound check was right and that she's able to share her slides. Maria, hello, how are you? It's Nancy.
All right, let's see. Okay. All right, I think that's
Ladies, the only thing, can we just talk really quickly about
Sure.
how we want to do translation? I know I've been sort of obsessing about this with Faye, but Rita does speak Spanish, but we also don't have a super long time, right? So we don't want to say, do we translate everything, or does someone help?
no. I think let's see. We have to play by ear as to, because a lot of parents, they understand more than what they can speak, but we definitely will ask them if they need, if anyone needs translation. Yes.
Thank you.
Let me send a few texts to folks that is supposed to, so they don't be late. Let's see, Solange. Because sometimes people can be forgetful too,
Of course.
Yeah, so I'm here. Hello, waiting for you. Giselle. She's not with us, I guess. It's 7:01. Giselle?
Are you trying to call me Eva? It's Chanel.
Chanel, yes.
Okay. Hi.
Okay, yes. How you doing, Chanel?
Good. How are you?
Everything is good so far, yes. I wanted to ask you, did you receive the last email that I sent you with couple of emails so you can for you to send the link to them? It was about like 6 emails.
No.
Yeah, I send I'll tell you exactly when I send let's see. Let's see. When did I send you that? Yeah.
Last email I received had the link with the slides.
Yeah, but there was a couple of how do you call it? There was a couple of emails in there. Oh boy. I thought that I had sent you that. Yeah, I sent it supposedly this afternoon. Let's see. Yeah, I sent it at 1:30 p.m. And that I send let's see. Oh, maybe, let me see. Did I include you? Oh, no. I send it to, no, I didn't see you in this email. Just, are we late for that maybe? Let me see, Chanel. Oh, I send it to Ebenezer. I thought that you were included because I intended to send it to you directly. I just send it to you now. But I really, in fact, I addressed the email directly to you, but I don't see your email here. What did I did here? Let's see. Yeah, I sent it to you just now, but I thought that I had included because I intended. I say, hello, Chanel. I hope This one, I send you to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 emails. Yeah,
Okay, I'll add them now.
I'm sorry, it's my fault then, because I thought that I direct the email to you, but I see that it's only Vanessa, Catherine and what is her name, and Paola. Yes, if you can send them, please, kindly. It would be much appreciated.
So Faye, is this recorded? Will
Yes,
be-
this is recorded and it's going to be live streamed and YouTube. I don't know if Facebook as well. It's that would be on Facebook as well.
Yes.
Or both. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, it's already 7:04. Let's see where our members where our members are. Let's see who is with us. Can't you hear me well? Because I hear you so low, like very, very low. Let me see.
I can hear you, Faye. One thing, I'm not co-host yet. If Chanel can please make me a co-host just in case.
Say it again, please.
I thought I was gonna be made co-host just in case as a backup.
Yes, at the time
Okay,
of the
we can co-host
presentation.
now.
Yeah. Let me tell. Yeah, she is going to once I call the meeting to order, or she can do it from now. Yes.
Yeah, she just
She
did.
will.
Thank you.
She did already.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Good. Trying to fix the audio. All right. It's David with us. Let's see how many folks we have.
I think we had 24
Right?
people as participant already.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we had Dr. Blazer, Nancy, Maria. Let's see who else. We are waiting for more members.
Yes, but that is unfair for the people who invited to speak that they have to wait for the members to join.
Yes, Maria, I understand that very well. We're about to start, but let me see who needs to be Chanel. Chanel,
Yes. Uh-huh.
can you possibly promote Julio? Let me see, David Awad,
Yeah, I've been trying, but I don't know if they're not like accepting.
because his will be one of the you who going to speak.
Yeah.
Let's see. Solangel, please promote her. Let's see. Imani also. Imani from the DA office. Black's Rose, let me see. Dr. Blazer, is Black Rose from your team? Can't you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Who are you asking about?
Black Rose. I don't know if she's from your team. No? All right. So anybody else that it's all your Callies expecting you? I mean, that you expect to be with you, are here?
Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's my colleague Rita who's going to do the presentation with me.
All right.
And that's all.
All right, very
Yes,
good. So now we're going to then call the meeting to order. Yes, thank you. All right. Just give me 1 second so I can call for the agenda. Just bear with me. Just bear with me. There you go. All right. Yes. All right. Just for the record, I'll officially call in the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. My name is Faye Florimon, Chair of the Youth and Education Committee. I would like to welcome all of you for attending our third meeting of this year. For the record, today is Monday, March 13, 2023. And this meeting has been called to order at 7:10 p.m. I would like for the record also to ask members of this committee to identify themselves first. So I will proceed then with the order of the agenda. Member, can you kindly please identify yourself for the record?
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Ramira. I am member of the Youth and Education Committee.
Thank you, Jonathan. Next member.
Hi, I'm Maria Luna, member of the also the Youth Services Committee and the Aging Committee.
Thank you. Next member. Okay, let's see. Well, I guess that they will come later on, so they will be joining us, later on. All right, I would like to go over the agenda and then proceed with, welcome other folks, the folks that are, accompanying us. As many of you perhaps have seen the agenda, we're going to have the presentation exclusively from Julie Blitzer. I should say correctly, Dr. Julie Blitzer. She is the outreach and prevention psychologist from the New York Presbyterian School-Based Health Center program and assistant clinical professor of medical psychology and psychiatry, Columbia University Medical Center. And she also, with her colleague, who is also accompanying her, Rita Gastolomendo. She's a licensed clinical social worker, senior social worker, also for New York Presbyterian Hospital School-Based Health Center. I work on all of them. And if I may, I would like to say this in Spanish for folks that may not probably captivate that. So le estoy dando la bienvenida a nuestra presentadora, a la doctora Julie Blitzer. Ella es psicóloga de extensión y prevención en el programa del Centro de Salud Escolar Presbiteriano de Nueva York. Es también una profesora clínica, asistente de psicología médica en psiquiatría del Centro Médico de la Universidad de Columbia. Acompañándola a ella también está su colega Rita Gastolomendo. Ella es una trabajadora social, senior clínica licenciada en Nueva York, en el Nueva York Presbyterian o en el Hospital Presbyterian de Nueva York, del Centro de Salud en la escuela. The presentation that they are, the title of the presentation is a review of bullying and its impact on children and adolescents. So, la presentación de ella se trata hoy de una visión general del bullying y su impacto en niños y adolescentes. After their presentation, we are going to have the opportunity to ask questions. And of course, we will receive answers. Then we will proceed with the all and business phase of the agenda. in which everyone will have the opportunity to announce if they have any event to announce for the community or any message. That would be the phase in which you will have the opportunity to discuss. Then, of course, we will be adjourning the meeting after that section. So acabo de decir que todos después de la presentación de la doctora van a tener la oportunidad dentro de la faceta de la agenda, asuntos pendientes y nuevos asuntos. Ahí vamos a tener la oportunidad, todo el que quiera hacer un anuncio para la comunidad. Esa es la fase en que la cual pueden hacer cualquier anuncio. So, sin más preámbulo, I would like to welcome our students, our parents, at the time of when the turn comes for them to speak. So we will hear each of them to identify themselves. And without any further ado, I would like to conceal and welcome Dr. Blizzard and her colleague, Mrs. Gastolomendo. So the floor is yours, and thank you, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Faye. Thank you for that lovely introduction. We're excited to be here. And thank you to CB12, Nancy and Faye for inviting us. And yes, I'm Julie Blitzer. As Faye said, I'm a psychologist at the School-Based Health Center program, and I do a lot of outreach and universal and prevention interventions at our schools. And Rita, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you again for inviting us. We're really excited to be here.
Sure.
Like Faye said, my name is Rita Gastolomendo. I'm a social worker, and I've been with New York Presbyterian for 14 years. I do also have a big dog. So if you guys happen to see him, he might show up in the presentation. Just to let you know, he is against bullying too. So he might do a little bark here and there, and you might actually hear him all about it. So buenas noches todos. Gracias por recibirnos. Nosotros estamos aquí para hablar sobre bullying y estamos muy agradecidas por estar aquí. Unfortunately, I'm having some camera issues, so I might be on and off camera. Desafortunadamente, mi computadora, la cámara no está trabajando muy bien, entonces puede ser de que voy a tener que apagarlo un ratito y después lo voy a tratar de empezar de nuevo cuando pueda. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Give me one moment. Let me All right. There we are. Okay. Does that look like it's filling up the screen, everybody?
Yes, we can see.
Yes. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's get rolling. So as you all know, we're talking about bullying today. We changed the title slightly, Bullying in Schools, Increasing Awareness and Prevention. We introduced ourselves already, and I just wanted to note that our postdoctoral fellow, Carmel Brunswick, who is a trainee with us, she did a lot of work on this with us too. So just wanted to thank her, even though she's not here, and recognize her hard work and her help. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about what we're going to discuss today. The overview of today's discussion. So we're going to define bullying. We're going to talk about the types of bullying that exist. We're going to talk about some rates and statistics around bullying, the impact, the psychological, physical, social impact of bullying. We'll talk a little bit about the most, or put a lens on the most vulnerable students, the signs of bullying, how we can tell if someone might be being bullied, why it happens, so who are the bullies, and why might they be bullying, and then most importantly, addressing bullying, right? How can caregivers address and respond? How could schools, what are their roles in preventing bullying? Bystanders and upstanders, those who are around and choose to speak up, what is their role? And then, of course, we'll talk a little bit about reporting and your rights and a little bit about the DOE and state rules. And we will offer more resources on that at the end.
Okay, so what is bullying? I'm sure everybody's been hearing about it. You know, bullying, I think, is a topic that a lot of people have been talking about in school. And according to the National Center of Education statistics, it says that bullying is often characterized by 3 of the following elements, right? So number 1 would be intent to hurt. So you're either trying to inflict physical or social or emotional harm onto somebody with an intent. Repetition. So if it happens more than one time. And also power imbalance. So maybe the victim feels a little inferior or less than power, or has less than power than the person who's bullying them. So this is, you know, again, just how it's defined. But, you know, we could talk about it as the workshop goes on. And I forgot to mention, if anybody needs translation at any point, please just let me know, and I would be more than happy to do this in Spanish as well. Okay, so moving on. How does the New York City define, the Board of Ed, how does it define bullying? Which, as you may notice here on the writing, it's a little different, right? So this is according to the Department of Education. It talks about interfering with the student's educational performance or ability to participate in or benefit from an educational program, have an impact on the student's mental, emotional, physical well-being, cause or be reasonably expected to cause the student a fear for their safety, and cause or be reasonably expected to cause physical injury or emotional harm to the student. So then again, this is how the Board of Ed is defining bullying, which is a little different than when we saw the first slide. As we were talking about it, there are different types of bullying. So there's physical bullying, right? And a lot of the times that's the most common one that you see. Why? Because there's like bruises that you see, there's cuts, like it's physical. It's the one that can often, you could see the shoving, you could see hitting. It's very just physically noticeable, which could also be some sexual bullying as well could occur. Maybe some unwanted, some non-consensual sexual physical contact. It could be like sometimes we're being in a school, it could be a guy or a female, you know, slapping somebody's behind as they're walking by. Something like that, a physical action that is seen. There's also verbal and social bullying. It's the use of words to inflict harm. So it could be some insults, some teasing, some name calling, spreading rumors or verbal threats. And this tends to be a little challenging because sometimes what happens is that people use terms and they use words that they don't even realize that could be considered bullying, you know, or could consider being insulting towards somebody else. You know, and in Spanish, we use a lot of terms. Sometimes we don't mean it intentionally. You know, like growing up for me, they would call me gordita or they would call me gorda. So if somebody were to hear it outside, they would be like, oh, wait a minute, like what's going on, right? So, you know, it's just words are powerful. And sometimes we don't realize that. So it could be seen as bullying, as teasing for somebody. So just because it's happening and you're hearing it and you think, oh, but it's okay, you know, it's a cute little nickname. No, if the person that is getting these words are getting inflicted or hurt, then, you know, it's obviously considered bullying. Social bullying may purposely exclude one from the conversation or activities and are motivated by maintaining their social status. Within the last couple of years, cell phone, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook has all been super popular. So what's been happening is a lot of cyberbullying. It could happen over social media platforms, like, you know, I just mentioned. It could be over text messages. Cyberbullying might post harmful or false things about somebody on social media or leave insulting comments or other posts. It could also be if somebody, takes a video and then posts it on their Instagram about something that happened, it's all, that could all be considered cyberbullying.
Okay, thanks, Rita. Now we thought we'd go over some stats about bullying. There was a large study done by the National Center for Educational Statistics fairly recently. And it came up with that 20% of students ages 12 through 18 have experienced bullying at school in the US. So this data is about bullying literally at school or on school grounds, okay? So it's not, we'll talk about cyberbullying kind of separately that occurs outside of school. But just a little breakdown. So what are students saying is happening, right? Subject of rumors and lies, that's 13.4%. So that's one of the highest reported kinds of bullying in school. Also being made fun of, being called names, that's also up there at 13%. The more physical bullying is actually less common than the name calling and the verbal bullying. Feeling threatened is 3.9%. And then trying to make people do things that they don't want to do. That's also a small portion as well. So where is this happening in school? Most of it is happening in the hallway or on the stairwell, sort of out in the open, right? But then 42% of what's happening is happening inside the classroom. And I think that's significant because teachers are witness to this kind of bullying, right? It's fairly obvious if it's in the classroom, especially if it's during class time. So teachers play a big part as a bystander, and we need those bystanders to become upstanders, and we'll talk more about that later and how powerful that is. And then there's some other categories of where the bullying occurs, outside of on school grounds, so maybe in the yard, something like that, and then bathroom and locker room, about 12%. So this is just sort of a breakdown of what bullying looks like in schools. And as I said, about 20% of students aged 12 through 18 have experienced bullying in schools in this country. Okay, a little bit more about cyberbullying. These stats are not we're not talking about inside school behavior, but we're talking about nearly half of teens have experienced cyberbullying in their lifetime. And offensive name calling is the most commonly reported type. There's some other types that are pretty common, which is the spreading of rumors, talking about people, lying about people online, receiving images that you are not requesting, that are explicit, having someone try to control you online, physical threats online, and then having other people sending explicit images that are yours, that is not their property. So this is sort of a breakdown of what cyberbullying is looking like for teens. This is a very, very recent study done by the Pew Research Center. So it's only last year that this data was collected. And I do want to make a note that Black and Hispanic teens are far more likely than white teens to say online harassment and bullying are a major problem for people their age. So this sort of draws a connection between race and ethnicity and how bullying is perceived, and how bullying is sort of handed out. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so let's take a look in terms of sort of who is being bullied. Let's take a look at the students who are most vulnerable, or the young people who are most vulnerable. So this is a study done by the Trevor Project, and it's also a very recent study. And it looked at almost 35,000 LGBTQ youth. And of those 35,000, 52% who were enrolled in middle school or high school reported being bullied either in person or electronically in the past year. That's a huge number, right? That's half of LGBTQ youth. And this is a huge sample, so it's very representative of that group. And so you could see here, something that's striking about these numbers to me is that 65% of middle schoolers who are LGBTQ youth. So it's actually happening more to middle school students than it is to high school students. That can be about emotional maturity. It could be about capacity for empathy, but it also says it starts very early, this kind of behavior, right? So it has to be talked about early. Something else that pops out to me here is that 61% of LGBTQ youth that have been bullied are actually transgender or non-binary, which makes perfect sense. They are often the targets of the most of hateful speech and of bullying and of harassment. Other vulnerable populations are students with disabilities, whether that's a learning disability or autism, some kind of emotional or behavioral disorder, or even a physical disability as well. They have greater rates of being bullied by their peers. And then students without disabilities, and also students with disabilities are generally more worried about their safety at school, more worried about being harassed, more worried about their physical safety compared to students without a disability. Another area of concern is bias-based bullying. So this is goes back to, you know, the students of color being more concerned about online bullying and bullying in general. More than 1/3 of adolescents reporting bullying report bias-based, so race, ethnicity, culture, minority group status-based bullying in school. And this kind of bullying is really strongly associated with compromised health and than general bullying. So it's almost more dangerous than other kinds of bullying. Also, race-related bullying is associated with negative emotional and physical health effects, which we'll talk more about as well.
Thanks, Julie.
Yeah.
And just to piggyback off what Julie was saying with base bullying, it's just, if we think about it, just a couple of years ago during COVID, a lot of Asian American adolescents were getting attacked on the train because everybody thought, you know, somehow they were connected. Somehow they brought it from, you know, a lot of kids were saying they brought it from China. A lot of people were, you know, getting misinformed. So we saw it even recently, just, you know, how big of an impact something like that can make. So we want to talk about the impacts of bullying on youth. And it could be mental health. The student, whoever's experiencing the bullying, you know, might have some increased risk of depression, some anxiety, some sleep difficulties. You know, like you might see somebody withdrawn a little bit, pull back, not interested in participating in the activities that they normally would like to participate. Sometimes they could have some self-harm or harm to others. You know, sometimes the cutting could start. They could start thinking about not wanting to be alive anymore. Like, what's the point if everybody's going to bother me and bully me? You know, they could talk about maybe wanting to hurt the people who bully them. We've, you know, heard so many incidents recently in the news talk about how people come to school with guns and how people come to school with knives, and why? Because they were getting bullied and they wanted to fight back. You know, so it could be self-harm to others, physical impacts. You know, the students who are experiencing bullying are twice as likely as non-bully peers to experience negative health effects, such as headaches, some stomach aches. So a lot of it, you know, could make them feel exhausted, also could make their immune system a little weak. Sometimes when we have victims of bullying, what happens is that they have like somatic, like physical pains, the headaches, the stomach aches. You might see them asking to see the nurse a lot. It could also cost their education as well, because they don't want to be part of school. They'll try to miss class if they're getting bullied in a particular class, or if they're getting bullied in a stairwell, they'll try to, you know, avoid that stairwell. If not that, they might avoid school altogether and drop out. There's bullying victims, students who are both targets of the bullying and also engaging in bullying behaviors, are a greater risk for both mental health and behavior problems that the students who only bully who are only bullied could happen. So, you know, sometimes what happens is that themselves become bullies. People who are getting bullied then turn it around. It could also be other negative impacts that affects how they feel about themselves, their relationship with new people, or maybe their relationship with teachers, with family. Like I said before, you might see them withdraw from school, from their friends, from home. And it might just, end up causing them to have like a negative self-view of themselves, which might just let them also have a negative self-view of others, because they might think, oh, well, if this one person is bullying me, everybody might end up bullying me. So bullied youth are 2 to 9 times more likely to consider suicide. I mentioned that a little before, how, if they're getting bullied, what happens is that then they feel like, what's the point? Like, why should I continue living? So some of the warning signs, just to touch base a little bit, of suicide could include depression, ongoing sadness, withdrawal from others, losing interest in favorite activities, trouble sleeping, sometimes trouble eating, like an increased interest in death or dying, maybe engaging in some risky or harmful activities, reckless behaviors, maybe using substances in order to like heal themselves. Sometimes it'll be kids who you might see who try to jump off like the top of the staircase, or kids who sometimes walk into traffic without looking both ways. Like little signs like that might be some warning signs that they might need some assessment. Giving away maybe a favorite possession or saying goodbye to people. So like if you notice that they're going around and gifting things that are really important to them to other people. Expressing that they just can't handle things anymore, feeling overwhelmed, feeling that they can't talk to somebody, or they don't have the support from anybody, or feeling lonely, or expressing that thoughts of I can't do this, I'm by myself, nobody will understand me. And making comments that, the world might be better without me. Like, what's the point of me being around? All I do is cause headaches. All I do is have people bully me. So these are some couple of warning signs that could be some kids who are getting bullied might have.
Thanks, Rita. I think this is an important slide because it's important for all of us to know how to look for a child or even a teen and an adult who's might be at this level of despair. So these are warning signs. It's not an exhaustive list of all warning signs of suicide, but keeping these in mind is important. And it allows us to keep people safe if we could keep these things in mind and ask the right questions. Also,
or even connect them, sorry, Julie, or even connect them to the right people, right?
Mhm.
Like sometimes it is not always easy to talk to somebody about certain topics. So just knowing that, hey, I see these signs of my, young person that I'm with, like maybe I could connect them to so-and-so. Sorry.
absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. It's about linking them to the help that they need. I think we also think, in general, people think if I talk about suicide with someone, it's going to make them feel more strongly. And that is not true. It actually makes people who are having suicidal thoughts feel more understood when they're asked questions and it's not avoided. So always the default should always be asking questions and being interested in their experience, whoever it is. And I also just wanted to make a note with the 2 to 9 times more likely to consider suicide. This seems like a very shocking thing, and it is. We don't want any child to take their own lives, anyone to take their own lives. But it's also a very small amount of people who actually complete suicide. It just increases the chances of that happening, right? Of the child doing this. So it's a terrible consequence, and we want to keep our eyes open. But I also don't want to use this to scare anybody, right? It's just something to have on our radar. Okay, so this, we're going back to the LGBTQ community, the youth community, and I just wanted to make a point of this because It's a very, very big difference between the bullied and non-bullied LGBTQ youth, right? This is the same study with 35,000 kids who were surveyed, and 29%, almost 30% of middle school students who were bullied in the past year attempted suicide. That is actually a very, very striking number. It's very surprising to me. Even I knew that they were at higher risk, but it's very high number, and we should all be concerned about that. This is a very vulnerable group who has a lot of lack of acceptance at home and can feel very, school can also feel like a really unfriendly environment. So anything that the school does in terms of culture should be very overt about and clear about LGBTQ rights and protecting these youth. So I just wanted to make a point of that they're very high risk youth in a lot of ways.
Thanks, Julie.
Mhm.
You know, we want to give you this information, again, like Julie said, not to scare you guys, but, you know, just to keep it in the back of your mind, and then also to, you know, see the signs of someone being bullied. So what could some emotional signs be? Maybe someone's feeling low, having like low self-esteem, feeling guilty, kind of, you know, you'll hear the kids saying like, it's my fault. Like, you know, I'm maybe if I didn't wear this, people wouldn't bully me. Like if I didn't have my glasses, if, you know, I was not in a wheelchair, you know, like there would be like some sort of guilt, some sort of worthlessness. Also some physical. So again, we talked about headaches, stomach aches, trouble sleeping, difficulties focusing and concentrating. Sometimes you'll see these kids might be daydreaming, or you'll see them kind of space off while you talk to them. You know, there could also be some behavioral signs, isolating, maybe some like disproportionate reaction of anger and frustration, like all of a sudden just, you know, going from 0 to 100. With some anger and feeling really overwhelmed, sudden burst of avoidance or just not wanting to come to school, or attending activities that they used to like. So kids who maybe were interested in movie night at school or basketball team or volleyball, like they'll just not want to go anymore. Other signs might be, you'll notice all of a sudden they don't have his backpack. Or all of a sudden, you know, it's the middle of the winter time and they don't have a coat, when they had a coat 2 hours before when you saw them. Or, you know, they walked in with their favorite watch or their phone, or, you know, little things that are important to adolescents, like all of a sudden they're not there anymore. Unexplained injuries, declining in grades. So not doing so well in school because they're maybe refusing to go to school. Just, you know, these are just some signs of somebody that might be getting bullied.
Yeah, thank you, Rita. And of course, you know, you should always default to knowing that you know your child best, and that you know the changes that you're seeing are not normal, right? So be curious, be open. And ask questions, because that's really what they need. Because many students, many adolescents and kids are not going to come right out with the fact that they're being bullied, because it is embarrassing even to tell their parent. And there is shame, as Rita said, around it. So you may need to do sort of the hard work of asking the questions to get to what's happening. Okay, so we also wanted to talk about sort of why bullies bully, right? That's the other half of the equation here, the victim, and then there's the bully, right? So we're going to talk about a couple of reasons. These are not all of the reasons, and it's actually really complex. So these are some of the main reasons, but there are others. So power. And they all happen to start with P, which is a convenient way to remember them. Power. Teens who want to be in control or have power are often prone to being bullies. They may not feel like they have a lot of power in their own life. And so these kind of social interactions give them some power. Then there's also popularity, right? Sometimes bullying can be sort of a manifestation of social status. Kids can feel like spreading rumors or gossiping, or engaging in shaming or ostracizing others can help them actually climb the social ladder and gain social power. Some students use it as a way of payback. So this is sort of the bully victim thing. So if they were bullied, they get back at the bully or even other people by also bullying. And so they feel sort of justified because they have already been harassed and kind of tormented. So they feel that they're allowed to do this back to other people. And then there's problems at home. Students who are in homes that are abusive or chaotic or unhealthy in some way, it could cause them to be more likely to show aggression and violence, whether that's verbal or physical towards other people, because it's being modeled or it's being put towards them. And pleasure is one that I think is really applicable to younger kids, maybe middle schoolers. If kids are bored or they're looking for something that's interesting, sometimes they actually resort to bullying because it creates kind of an excitement, a drama of sorts. And this could be born from sort of either a lack of attention from teachers or from parents or people at home. And it's sort of like an outlet to get attention. Also, this could be also born from a lack of empathy at that age, a lack of emotional regulation. So that's also a factor as well. And then what we talked about, there are prejudices, right? It's not uncommon for teens to bully other teens when they're different in some way, whether that's race or religion, gender identity, culture, whatever that means. So sometimes it's prejudice is the source of the bullying. And then there's peer pressure, of course. Sometimes kids bully other kids to fit in with a clique. And even if it like sort of goes against their own judgment, fitting in is sort of paramount to any feelings of guilt. So yeah, these are some of the categories of why people bully. And as I said, not all of them, but these are some of the main ones, main themes.
Before we get on to what parents can do, I wanted to just acknowledge, and I apologize if I pronounce your name incorrectly, but Tanisha Grant's comments about the incident that happened on 181st Street. We do want to talk about it. This is why I think this topic was brought up today, and we were invited to come in. But if it was okay with everybody, we would love to kind of get through this a little bit just to provide information. And then at the end, if we could, open up the discussion for that, because we do want to hear from you guys. We're working together in this community, but you guys are this community and we want to hear what's going on. So if it's okay with everybody to just, for us to continue this, and then we'll definitely be able to look at what people are commenting, and we could talk from there, if that's okay. So I just wanted to touch base about what parents can do and how to talk to youth about bullying. Like we've been talking about, listening is huge. I think a lot of the times it gets really uncomfortable to talk about certain topics with adolescents. But to sit down and to just, listen to what's going on without, I guess, judgments as much as we possibly can as parents and as adults. Sometimes when we hear our young person being attacked or being bullied, we get on the defense, right? We want to protect them. We want to make sure they're okay. And sometimes our first question is like, but why did you let them do this to you? Like what is going on? Like, why did you not fight back? Like, why did you not do this? So like, we want to be able to encourage you guys that, yes, it brings up very strong feelings for us as adults. but to just be able to listen, right? Because this person who's getting bullied is already feeling that like, this is happening to me. Like, why is this happening to me? So to hear it from a parent might not always be, you know, the thing that they need at the moment. So to please listen just calmly, and provide as much support as you can, without letting them know that, you know, they should be embarrassed or ashamed, or that you as a parent might be disappointed in them or upset because they didn't do anything. Also, I want, you know, like we would love for parents to just acknowledge and reassure, show that you want to help, that you understand that it could be hard to talk about it, and remind them that they're not alone, that it's not their fault that this is happening. Reassure them that somehow you're with them, you know, and it doesn't make them any weak for talking about it to you. Discussing and modeling this also. Studies have shown that adults can prevent bullying by talking to children about bullying and encouraging them what to do, like modeling them love, kindness, respect for others, and how to seek help. And then, as we mentioned before, getting them help. You know, if it's hard for you as a parent to talk about it, then, you know, please, just, there's so many people in the community that you could connect with. Get them help, talk to the school, talk to the principal, talk to the social worker, the guidance counselor. If you have a school clinic, please reach out to the school clinic. That's what we're here for. You know, just this problem might not be solved right away, like overnight, but just know that the child will receive the support that they need. And this will be an ongoing thing that we could let this individual who is getting bullied realize that they're not alone. And then they have the community, and they have a village around them, protecting them and making sure that they're okay. Also, how I mentioned earlier today, in the discussion about how words are powerful, what happens at home is also matters. Sometimes harsh parenting is associated with bullying and victimization. The way we talk to our kids, sometimes it's how the kids talk to each other. You know, sometimes culturally we say certain words and we don't realize the impact that it could then have on the community outside. Family dynamics, sibling and family dynamics that are respectful and understanding tend to lead to a better social outcome for young people. Social messaging, when parents encourage their children to have multiple friendship groups, and not, you know, I remember when I came here as a Latina, like an immigrant, my mom would often say, like, you know, make friends with all the people who speak Spanish, make friends with, you know, I also grew up in a very, very, very small Latino population. So, you know, my mom really wanted to encourage that. So, you know, she wasn't as open to be like, go out, meet new people. As much as we encourage them to really learn about other people's culture. And if we as a family learn about other people's culture, this could definitely have a positive impact on how our adolescents are interacting with each other and the understanding and acceptance of others as well.
Thank you, Rita. We also wanted to touch on the role of bystanders. Bystanders are people who are witnessing the bullying. And, you know, 20 to 30% of the bullying roles is taken up by the bully and the victim, but there's also another 70 to 80% of people around, either the assistant, someone assisting a bully, the defender, someone actually defending the person being bullied, or an outsider, someone who's not doing much, right? So these other roles are really important as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about bystanders and how they can intervene. And we'll also talk about some of the complexity with that. And Rita and I will get into it and answer your questions about it. But it's important for us to know that it's not easy to be a bystander and do something, right? 80% of the time, there's someone watching the bullying, 20% of the time, someone intervenes. So something's happening psychologically there, right? There's some barrier. And here are a couple of reasons why people don't intervene when they see bullying or hear bullying. They think it's like a diffusion of responsibility. They say something to themselves like, no one else is doing anything, so I don't have to. Another reason is fear that something would happen to them if they defended that person. It's going to be turned on me in some way. Another reason is, everyone must think it's okay, so I'll think the same thing. And that's sort of called pluralistic ignorance. And then there's another reason where people in their own minds blame the victim or just say, oh, I guess that's just how it is. He had it coming, or he shouldn't have done that, or she shouldn't have done that. So all of these get in the way of bystanders becoming upstanders, or people who defend people who are being bullied. So I want to watch this really, really short video. It's like 1.5 minutes, but it just really emphasizes the importance of being a bystander. Oh, shoot. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Let me just get back.
One in 5 children in the United States experience bullying where a peer harasses, humiliates, or threatens repeatedly. Bullying can have negative psychological, physical, and academic effects. It can contribute to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and it can be isolating. Most kids are not directly involved in bullying. They are a witness or a bystander to bullying. Sometimes bystanders get roped into reinforcing the bullying. This can make the situation worse and more traumatic. However, if a bystander becomes an upstander, then something really cool happens. When bystanders to bullying intervene, bullying stops within 10 seconds 57% of the time. Think about it, if bystanders became upstanders every time there was a bullying incident, more than half of all kids would be spared a prolonged harmful experience, and they would feel the support of a peer. Kids with strong leadership qualities and who are self-assured are more likely to be on the defender role, so you are really like a peer superhero when you become an upstander. There are a number of ways you can shift the negative focus of bullying: change the subject, interrupt, question behavior, use humor to lighten up a serious situation, embrace your differences, report bullying and block cyberbullying, protect others and show kindness and empathy, and include others in what you are doing. Every time you stand up and stick up for others, you are making a positive difference and helping a peer who may really need a friend. To learn more about bullying prevention, visit stopbullying.gov.
Okay, so that was just a little video about intervening in bullying and how important it is. And the research really does show that someone being able to intervene in a way that's useful for the person being bullied and helpful, especially a peer, is one of the most helpful things that can happen to stop bullying. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get back to. Okay, here we are. Okay, so just.
1 in 5 children.
I'm really sorry, guys. Give me a minute. Okay. In the same vein, I think it's useful to know what kind of interventions students who are being bullied really valued and thought were helpful for them. So if meaning the strategies that made a difference for them, spending time with a person who's bullied, talking to that person who's bullied, helping them get away, calling them on the phone or interacting with them, giving advice, and helping them tell someone else, distracting the bully and or the person being bullied, and listening to the person being bullied, helping them to tell an adult, confronting the bully and asking them to stop. So, the most powerful ones are about connecting and interacting with the person being bullied, that prevented future bullying and that helped the person get through the bullying situation. So Rita, do you want to bring up one of the issues that might come up around being and kind of intervening?
When Julie and I were doing this presentation, we were talking a little bit about, some of the issues that I've heard from parents and I've heard from students as well about sometimes being a bystander and their hesitancy about saying something. Right, Julie? That's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And some parents are really afraid to encourage their kids to maybe stand up and say something, or to help their friends who's getting bullied, or to, say, hey, that's not funny, stop bullying this person. Because they're afraid that the bullying might turn onto them. And it's kind of like, just walk away, don't look, because if you draw attention to yourself, then whatever's happening in there, it's going to happen to you as well. Sometimes they're afraid that maybe they'll get in trouble with school, especially if it's happening in school and they try to stand up in school, then they'll feel, they might encourage their child not to say anything because then they might get in trouble from a teacher. So, a lot of times they fear maybe some retribution. And it's interesting when we're doing this, because again, my parents, as immigrants from South America, we were always told to kind of just go with the grain, right? And I think that's the correct English saying, kind of go with the flow, and to kind of just continue, kind of stay quiet, don't say anything. If you see something, just walk away, like don't interact. But it's really important, as I'm looking at this research, just how many kids are saying, like, wow, if somebody spent time with me, like that would really help. If somebody talked to me, and realizing that people who get bullied just often feel alone and feel unseen. So just letting know that they're not, that they're seen and they're not alone is really important.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rita. And it's not an easy decision, because you don't want your kid, as the bystander who intervenes, to be bullied themselves or to be in any kind of danger, right, out in the community. At the same time, the role of bystander is basically one of the most helpful ways of stopping bullying. So we want to promote it. We want to promote the bystander to intervene and to become the upstander. So it's a discussion we should have and we should talk about further, but there's some tension around it, of course.
And it's understandable, right? But the more that we do as a community, we could hopefully change that together. We talked a little bit about parents, what parents should do, what are some signs, if the bullying is happening in school, because our kid, the kids are spending most of their time in school. So what can schools do in order to maybe stop bullying or decrease it? And an important thing would be the social climate and social emotional learning. So, just really coming in from a lens of just really respecting others, focus on maybe promoting of understanding and respect, also giving the staff training, administrators, staff, teachers, everybody in your school to talk about bullying, ways of prevention and intervention. Also developing clear policies. What happens if somebody is getting bullied? What is what would happen to the bully? What would happen to the person getting bullied? To the person, the accuser? Just making it very clear, and having these kids know as well, as long with the parents and as long with the staff, that everybody's kind of on the same page, creating a very supportive and loving and understanding environment. Julie, did I miss something? I'm sorry.
No, that's head on. When we talk about school climate, this is a school-wide issue. It has to be clear to everybody and reinforced on a regular basis what's acceptable and what's not. And this is for staff and for students. The rules have to be reiterated, clear, the no harassment policies. Anything that has to do with bullying needs to be super overt. It can't be assumed. And in terms of school climate, I think schools in New York City and around the country are now getting into gear around improving their school climate and taking social emotional learning very seriously because of the pandemic. But it's also a thing to do to prevent bullying, to create a safe place for students to learn, and to make sure that they are learning in an environment that's not oppressive. So it's long overdue, but I think schools are getting, Rita and I can attest to this, are getting better and better at incorporating these curriculum and these concepts that are incredibly valuable and that need to be there in order for students to feel safe and to learn.
And one more thing to add with the staff training is just remembering that we as adults need to model the behavior and the environment that we want to create. So it's also adults kind of taking a step back and realizing the words that they use, how they behave. Because if the kids see it from us, then obviously it might be something that could continue creating some difficulties. So just remembering that we all model, it's really important.
And, we're going to finish up now. I know we're out of time. Just a few words, and I'm going to send you all, so this can be pushed out to the whole committee, but the rules that the DOE has and the policies that they have around bullying, and they were all born from this DASA Act, which is the under the Dignity Act. Schools will be responsible for collecting and reporting data regarding incidents, and they're also responsible for making school culture safe and supportive for all students. So this is a New York State Act that has influenced highly the DOE's regulations around bullying and the procedures of how to report, investigate, and follow up on bullying. I won't get into this. It's a little technical, but you could look into the chancellor's regulations. They're pretty clear. All schools have a respect for all liaison and a respect for all week. All staff have to take certain trainings around bullying and safety, intolerance, and there are also surveys that staff and students do about school climate and improving it. So you could look into this. I'll send some information, but just to sum up, bullying affects all youth. Many students are bullied or witnesses to bullies. So bullying really affects everyone, and the effects of bullying, whether you're being bullied, witnessing bullying, or are a bully, they may continue into adulthood. So they may last for a very long time. So it's a very serious issue. It has mental health and health consequences. There's not a profile, one profile for a person who would be involved in bullying, as we reviewed. There are some clues about where bullies are coming from and who might be most victimized. But it's not, it's not an easy and clean answer to say who's a bully and who's a victim. Also, the solutions aren't simple. It takes a village. There's a lot of prevention approaches that work well in schools, but you really have to adhere to them. And also we need to sort of imbue in our parenting and how we talk to students and what we model to students and adolescents, the right messaging and the right dynamics so that they can carry those forward in their social relationships. Also, we need to make sure we're promoting a sense of tolerance and respect for others. When we talk to young people and when we interact with them, we have to model that. And as we saw, bystanders are probably one of the most powerful ways of stopping bullying. So we need to talk to adolescents and young people about how to be an intervening bystander and to stick up for someone when you see something. Thank you all. We appreciate it. Please reach out if you have questions, but also we'll answer any questions you have.
Yes, Domingo Estevez, I saw your hand was raised. Would you like to unmute and?
Oh, Faye, are you going to take over now or no?
Yes. Actually, I was just waiting until they to complete, the presentation. Dr. Blitzer, thank you very much and your team. Of course, Rita, this has been phenomenal. I know when it comes to bullying, this is like an endlessly conversation, and perhaps maybe we may have a continuation of this because there is a lot of things that we would like to discuss today. But really, I just want to really thank you so much. So before we proceed in allowing the question, I wanted to, because there was members that were not present, and for the record, they need to say their name. So they members who had not identified, yes, please identify yourself.
Domingo Estevez, a member of the Youth and Education Committee.
Thank you.
Members? Good evening, everyone. My name is Luis Cruz. I'm a member of the Youth and Education Committee.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Thank you very much. All right. So this is okay. The next phase of this agenda is that we're going to open up the floor for questions. And as always, members of the committee and members of the board will ask the question first, and then we turn this question to the participant, our guest, and the general public. But before I wanted to, first of all, I wanted to acknowledge a few folks that are, with us. I would like to acknowledge Jackie Adams from Harlem Motor Safe. Jackie, thank you so much. I don't see your face, but I see your name, and I hope that someone, if not you, representing your organization, thank you so much for joining us. I also wanted to thank Al Curlin, community activist. Nancy, I cannot thank you enough for making this presentation possible. So Nancy Gautier Matos was the person who actually was able to put in contact with Dr. Blitzer and her team. So I want to thank you deeply, for all your help. And of course, I want to thank Julio, Presbyterian Hospital team, the Columbia University as well, and deeply, appreciate it. And on behalf of my folks, my colleagues, I want to thank you very much for making this presentation, a reality today. So I also wanted to acknowledge our guest, student Solangel, last name Almonte. Also, we have Imani Duambia. I don't know if we have Alvin Martinez. I don't see him, but we have several parents and also several students. So, and before we turn into question, I would like to concede the floor to the student. Solangel, I know you have something to say as a young, person or students and related to the topic. So I would like to concede the floor to you so you can share with us your thoughts about, bullying, and as you express your interest and be part of this conversation. Please.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Solangel. I'm currently a senior in high school, and first of all, that was like a great presentation. I think is very well needed because a lot of parents or like guardians or even like teachers, they don't like, how do I say, like they don't see um they don't like see, or they don't see the what's it one second.
You okay?
All right, Faye, she said 1 second, so if you want to move on.
All right. Solange, should we call the next person? All right. So let's move to Imani Dombia, Dombia.
Hi, good evening. So, my name is Imani Dumbia. I work for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. And thank you all so much for the presentation. It was very informative, and I really enjoyed listening in on it. I don't have a question about this topic. So, Faye, if you would like, I can hold off until the end if that's...
Yes, until the end. That's correct. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for identifying yourself, of course. Yes. David, what? David? Are you with us, David? All right. Solangel, are you with us? Hello, Solangel?
Hello?
All right. Oh, yes. Okay, Dave. Thank you.
Hello. Oh, hi. Nice to meet everybody. I work with admissions office at Barriqua College, and the presentation was nice. It was everything that I expected it to be, and it was great.
Thank you.
All right.
You want to share your thoughts in regard to the topic?
I would say I have dealt with that back in the days when I was a kid myself. So I understand how the kids feel as well who are being bullied, and I hope we can make a change.
All right.
Yeah, that's all for now.
Yes.
David, can I ask you a question?
Yes, you can ask me a question.
Was there something you could have needed back then that wasn't provided? Is there something that you feel, I mean, if you don't want to get personal, that's fine, but is there any way that other people could have helped, but that it really just didn't happen and you were wishing it would happen?
I felt like there was nobody a little bit above me, like age-wise, to sit me down and talk to me. So at times I didn't want to speak to somebody like super old as like, I felt like they wouldn't connect with me with what was going through at that time. I was like, maybe somebody just a little bit of age would understand what I'm going through at that time, but I didn't have that.
I got you. So sort of a peer, but slightly older would have a little bit removed, but not super removed.
Exactly.
That, I think that makes perfect sense in light of the peer bystander situation. It's like, you just want someone to relate, right? And to talk.
Exactly.
It would have gone a long way. Okay.
Right. All right. Yeah, that's all I have for now.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you too.
All right. So I don't know if Solangel is available now. Solangel, are you available?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay. Once again, my name is Solangel Almonte, and I'm a senior in high school right now. So like I said, I did think that this presentation was well needed, not just to the people here, but to like everyone in Washington Heights community, because I feel like a lot of guardians, parents, teachers, or like tutors, they're not involved as much as they should be in young people's lives, and they don't see like when bullying is happening. Like recently there's been a lot of cases that like going back to the presentation, a lot of cases like young people like killing themselves because of bullying in school, or like cyberbullying, because they like keep on reposting the person getting bullied. And even if the parent is involved, it's not just them, it's also like the people in school, like the system that is set up in schools and in DOE, like they really just don't care enough about the kids. And I feel like that's also a big part. But yeah.
Well, thank you, Solange. We
Thank you for
appreciate your
sharing.
comments. I'm sure that later on, you will come up with also with many questions, which I wanted you to feel free to it. I don't know if anyone may have any question for her. So I guess as we're going to open out officially the questions and answers, phase. So the question also can be asked to the students as well to the presenter. So members, I would like to start with Domingo.
Yeah, so it was a great presentation. Thank you so much for the presentation. And I think Solangel raises a very good concern, right? Which is, how do I know this, like a great presentation, when not necessarily put into practice, how it's impacting the students by merely the level of bullying and stuff happening within their institutions that they attend, right? So my biggest thing is, and I got two questions. Well, I'll keep it to one, which is, there's a difference between bullying workshops, the upstandard, and conflict resolution. Sometimes they intersect, but we also see how a lot of the situations that unfold and become very violent are usually because of that lack of conflict resolution and being able to catch a situation on time. And then eventually it escalates to something like Rosana said, like, oh, a situation happened, a fight happened. Now, as a result, there's a viral video of me all over the internet that could potentially cause a student to take their life away, right? So I'm using that as a way of saying, like, what resources would you say are available? I understand bullying is one of the many manifestations of violence, right? But what other resources are available for conflict resolution, for being able to develop a much more empathetic student body, student culture, right? Because I think a lot of it has to do with empathy. How do I get along with my peers, and how does the school reinforce that so that they create a healthier school environment? While bullying is important, I feel like violence is the overarching sense, like the overarching action that creates all of this. And I'm also interested in understanding that, like, what other resources are available for that. Oh, and Upstandard is a great program, by the way. We've been implementing Upstandard in an elementary school for children as early as first grade, and being that person that helps stop, like doesn't feed into it, could sometimes be a solution to a lot of it.
Yes, thank you, Domingo.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of really good issues, Domingo. As I said earlier in the presentation, I think schools are playing a lot of catch up. I mean, I wish they were doing this work maybe 10 years ago, or starting to, and maybe some very progressive schools were. But these social emotional learning curriculum, really what they lean into is building connection between students and the community, building connection with students and staff, using learning strategies that are supportive instead of punitive. All of these things are starting to be incorporated, right? But they're not yet totally commonly practiced. And it takes a really long time for these things to change in a system like the Department of Education, or any system really. And it takes a lot of people advocating to take this very seriously. Restorative justice, we hear that term all the time, but that's something that's being implemented as well in schools and at companies and organizations, trying to sort of work things out in a more equitable and peaceful way when conflict arises. It's just a matter of time, hopefully, when this becomes more sort of like a more ingrained in the way things are done. I hope that's where it goes towards. I think a lot of schools are partnering with community-based organizations to make this kind of stuff happen. But I think it's a process that takes many years, and it takes the whole school taking it seriously. So I've seen a lot of schools who are doing a really amazing job at it, and some schools who aren't yet convinced that it's important. So there's a whole spectrum. And Rita and I mean, I just wanted to sort of talk about some of the things we've been doing, but we've brought some mindfulness to some of the schools that we work with. And that's been really powerful. Some of the schools we work with have created a whole peer conflict resolution program. So peers are the ones who are sort of mediating things. So things are evolving, but it's a process. So that's my answer, Domingo.
I also think that we also have to have these hard discussions, right? What's really going out in the world. And sometimes it's not so easy to talk about it. Sometimes it's not so easy to talk about it with adults, but it's important to talk about it with, teachers, parents, students. Like, these discussions need to continue happening. Julie and I work really closely with one of the schools, and we do a lot of professional development for the teachers to encourage them to have these discussions and talk about, the violence going on in the community, talk about their own biases, what they went through, their own trauma, just so they could be aware of just what's going on, how they present to adolescents, and how they add to sometimes maybe a situation that could be de-escalated, as opposed to encouraging it. So we're definitely trying, and I think this is definitely a great forum. You guys have so many people here that, it really brings my hope that we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you. So I don't know if we have another members that may have question, but before we proceed with the question, I would like to send some, just to shout and say thank you so much to our board president or chair, Catherine Diaz. She's with us. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. And also our former chairman, Eleazar Bueno, who is actually the chair of the public safety. So I welcome both of them and say thank you deeply for joining us. Not often you see chairs, join our meeting. And so I think I highly appreciate their presence, and I want to say thank you. So I don't know if they want to share a few words. Catherine, you want to share a few words, and Eleazar, before we proceed with the questions?
Sure. Sorry, Faye. Thank you. And again, thank you to our presenters. Sorry, I'm going to try to make this quick. I'm under the weather tonight. One, I know Faye and the committee's been working to bring the presentation for, I think, a couple months now. And really glad to hear the resources, and hope again that we can continue to use the committee as a space to connect both the Columbia Project along with any folks that I see here present that are interested in bringing this presentation to their schools or spaces. I know that some folks here tonight, and I just want to acknowledge it, may be joining because of the viral video that did circulate, I think probably this morning, this early afternoon. And I know that a lot more has come forth from it in terms of the context that tends to be missing in videos. And, I hope that through here or through our public safety committee, we continue to, and the board itself continues to be a space of getting information to clarify what happened and what continues to come forth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Eleazar?
Yeah, thank you, Faye.
Thank you.
Really enjoying the presentation and grabbing those highlighting those points that I believe are important for further conversations. Truly believe that incidents are incidents, and it's important that we discuss them in a way in which we identify the issues that could have led to those incidents and come with solutions around it. So thank you for the presentation. It was great. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Faye, for such a great way of
Thank
bringing
you.
so many people together.
Thank you. So now we're moving back to the questions, but I wanted just to put up there that I really hope that we further on whatever question we may have. I would like to really touch base on the ugly incident that happened recently with the bullying in our community. That was something that is so inappropriate, so unacceptable. And I'm not going to probably dig into it because of the time, but this is something that I really feel tremendously, sorry that this happened. And I hope that we touch bases before we exit this conversation. And also, I just want to also bring the incident that happened with the student in, I think it's in New Jersey. Her name was Adriana Koch, who was 14 years of age, and actually committed suicide as a result of the bullying, But I guess that as this conversation progresses, so we will bring back some of this or elaborate further on this incident. Following the question again, I just would like to say thank you, our colleague Tanya Bonnet, who is joining us. And I would like to also give her the, before I go to her, I wanted, since our colleague from Harlem Mothers Safe, Jackie Adams is with us. I would like to, Jackie, can you please share with us few words and share your comments and questions? So the floor is yours, Jackie, and thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I was just impressed. I was taken back about the presentation. I didn't expect all this, Faye, but I should know, you know how to keep it together. The presentation was right on, and I just want to quickly say, going to the schools and talking to the kids and talking to the parents, and I often say to them, talk to your kids and listen to what they got to say. It is so important. And the kids even said, my parents don't listen to me. And so I always tell the kids, try to find somebody you could trust, So your presentation was great. One of the incidents that happened in my organization, for some of you that know and don't know, we are mothers and fathers who've lost kids to gun violence. And in one of our meetings a while back, we found out that a kid was being bullied so bad till they took it out on another child. And this happens. They took it out. They said, I was being bullied. So they bullied another child because they couldn't get no satisfaction. And they bullied this child so bad. Luckily, the kid lived. He bullied and beat and tortured. So these are some of the things that come up. But I really appreciate this presentation. I have not heard a real full presentation like this in years, really. So thank you, Faye. And thank you, presenters. So I just want to say that. And thank you, Faye, for all you do. And I was on the community board for how many years, Maria?
Oh gosh, I has rained so much after that I forgot how many years.
Yeah, and but anyway, keep up the good work. The board is really good. The youth and the youth committee have really grown. Thank you, Faye.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. Yes. So Tanya.
Hi. Thank you, Faye, for allowing me to participate in this meeting. And it's a good topic and very timely, as you can see. Right on time. I wanted to, I'm a board member, just people who don't know, with Community Board 12, been for 5 years. And I wanted to speak specifically to the incident that occurred, the viral incident, because we've been here before in this community. I know people say, oh, what happened before the tape started rolling, or what are the circumstances beyond, the context beyond. At the end of the day, it happened in our community, in view of our young people and a view of adults in our community. We've been here before. We had an incident maybe a year and a half ago or so, maybe 2 years ago, it's hard to tell with the pandemic, where some Hispanic youth were chasing a Black youth and calling them the N-word. Okay, and we were there doing a rally. Let's do our solidarity rally. Let's come together. And did we ever deal with the actual issue of anti-Blackness? Bullying has layers. Okay, so there are many reasons why people bully. And if we have to, and I appreciate that we talked about the general way, but we also need to address specifically for our community anti-Blackness, that is underlying the bullying that goes on with our youth. Okay, and that needs to be addressed. I have lived here for 17 years, and I can say that these kids are not just getting it from anywhere. They're getting it from the adults and the people who represent us and the people who are our leaders in our community who exhibit these behaviors. And again, I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying I've been here long enough to be bullied myself as a grown person by grown people, including in this setting. Okay, so we have to, as adults, ask ourselves, how are we teaching our young people these attitudes and behaviors of anti-Blackness? This is all under systems of white supremacy, and they are learning by that this is how you gain something in this country, by exhibiting anti-Blackness, specifically anti-Blackness, right? And so that needs to be addressed. And one of the things I want to say is that young people do have the capacity to do the right thing. It depends on how they're raised. It depends on the influences they have. It depends on the examples that they have. When I was in school, growing up in Chicago, I went to those fancy schools, and the white kids didn't want me there. And we're not talking about 18,000 years ago, okay? So they didn't want me there. And they teased me, they bullied me, they called me the N-word, they threw things at me. I was in the playground, they'd be pulling my hair, just torturing me. And you know who surrounded me one day to stop all of it? The kids. The other kids formed a circle around my body. The other white kids and said, no, you will not do this. The adults, the teachers, nothing. Did nothing. So they are capable of making these choices and doing the right thing if they have the right influences. So what I'm putting back is how this community needs to deal with this anti-Blackness that goes on. It needs to first acknowledge it, that it's even occurring, which I haven't seen in my 17 years of being here. And it needs to not only acknowledge it, put it on the table, but also discuss where it's coming from and how to help our young people and our adults to stop behaving and thinking along these lines. It is not okay. I've bullied so bad, I won't even go in certain institutions in this community. I've been bullied by people on the street, called names in Spanish, derogatory names. Okay. And then when I bring it up, oh, no, that was just bad customer service. No, it wasn't. That was called bullying by adults exhibiting anti-Blackness. So we need to acknowledge, stop sweeping things under the rug so our kids so we can help them to be better. But we have to first be better ourselves and not play into these things. And so I was very disturbed and hurt when I saw that, because not only does it bring back memories for myself of being a Black person and being bullied by someone else, by other groups, okay, but it also is harmful for our other community members to see. They feel that they're not welcome here, that this is what they're going to experience by coming up here and being here. And that's not okay. And we need to start with ourselves right here on this board. Do better, be better, and stop bullying and stop denying things and start in our communities and in our households. And address the anti-Blackness that goes on. Thank you, Faye. Thank you so much.
So Tanya, did you also have any question or, maybe that specific question for the, because that was basically like an elaborated statement, but I'm sure you may have a, question for the presenter. Or
I
if
think
it's
that
not,
I would,
we can come back.
No, I would love to see them talk specifically about racism and forms of discrimination in which some of this bullying takes place. That it was very general. It was a great presentation, by the way. I'm not saying that. It was excellent, full of information and very, very helpful, but it needs to go there. We can't talk around it, because trust me, they're doing it. How did they call that? They call that young man the N-word alert, laughing repeatedly. And they didn't say that, they said the hard R, the hard R.
But
Okay,
I think
so how can we integrate more of this type of conversation in this kind of curriculum material? That's the question. Thank you.
You know, I wanted to just say you're so right. And Rita and I were actually, when we were fine tuning this, we're like, we have to sort of be general because of the time, and we need to talk about the like overall topic, but we are glossing over a lot, right? This could be 10 separate workshops really about the different kinds of bullying and what it's motivated by, and the systemic racism and all of the things that go into this. And we want to do that. So this is really important feedback, and we'd love to come back and delve deeper into like the really important aspects. So thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. So I wanted to say, I know folks like attendees that on the other side, like for example, Black Rose and other folks. I will come back to you. I will come back to you.
Alfred has been raising his hand.
Yes, but excuse me. All I wanted just to make sure that that eventually I will get to them, because they have we see Al, but those attendee they cannot be seen through here. So yes, Al, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Faye, and thank you to the committee for doing such a thorough and comprehensive approach to the topic of bullying. And thank you to Faye and the Youth Committee for having, so many articulate committee members, and especially for having youth involved in the conversation, because too often, adults create the problem of violence, and then they ostensibly, try to create solutions to violence by bypassing young people as being part of the solution. So congratulations for having the young people here. Enough of the soapbox. I had two questions. One, touches on the role that adults can take in addressing the problems of the bullies themselves, other than with punitive responses. Because as you know better than I, bullies are too often victims of bullying themselves or violent interventions in their own lives. So what is the level of services for helping to cure the violent mind and the wounded heart of bullies? And then secondly, how serious has school culture become in creating institutions within the schools of peacemaking institutions? I know I think it was Dominguez, brought up conflict resolution and mediation. How can schools better get youth involved in becoming the opinion makers in reducing violence?
All right. Thank you, Al.
Yep, those are really, really good questions. So you're absolutely right. Schools and any institutions working with young adults and adolescents need to involve them in the decision-making. I'll answer it sort of similarly as I did before. I think there are some schools that are farther along with that than others. And it takes really concerted effort, and it takes engaging students. It takes making the right kind of programs, using the right kind of curriculum, and creating the forums for them to have a voice, basically, whether that's in the classroom or outside of the classroom, creating leadership opportunities, peer mediation opportunities, promoting engagements in sports and after-school activities. All of those things promote that kind of level of commitment to connection to school, connection to others, connection to the community, that really just fosters sort of nonviolent means of interacting with each other and resolving conflict. So there's so many ways to go about it. And schools just have to make it a priority. Schools don't generally prioritize this. I don't know, when I was in high school, this was not a priority. This was not even a thing, right? And suddenly after the pandemic, it's a real thing. Like, schools are almost being forced to take it seriously because kids are in such crisis right now. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we did this a long time ago, but we didn't, right? And so we're making up for lost time. And part of what Rita and I are trying to do is trying to help schools to catch up with this in whatever way that means, and offer extra support. And then what do bullies need? I mean, a lot of them are probably struggling with mental illness, probably struggling with some kind of dysfunction at home. You're at this critical age as a teenager where you're trying to form your identity, you're insecure, you're learning how to be with other people. And not to mention, you had 3 years of pandemic of not socializing with anyone. So you have like zero social skills while trying to do it, right? Like, I don't mean zero, I'm exaggerating, but you don't have the tools that you might have had before, right? So it's sort of like a convergence of a lot of not great things. On top of it, there's a shortage of mental health support out there right now, right? And a lot of need. So we have places like our school-based health center that serve 19 of the hundreds of schools that are in this city, right? And we try to do the best we can to make sure we're targeting those kids who need the services. But you're right. I wish there was an easy answer and that we could just, hire 10,000 more social workers and psychologists and fix this problem. But we need more concerted effort by the schools to hire social workers, create the groups that are needed for kids who are in trouble and who need more support, and get the families more engaged with the treatment as well. Is that sort of an answer?
Yeah, thank you. And like you said, no easy answers, but I really appreciate the response. Thank you.
Thank you, Al, and thank you, Dr. Blitzer. Yes, so you may lower your hand since you already asked the question. Now I would like to turn to the attendees. I would like to start with Ms. Black Rose. Yes.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hi, thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having this. I appreciate the route that you guys have taken in terms of being able to educate everyone, because I think that's the first step, is understanding what is happening within our community. Yes. And in these schools. I was a young mother. I was 19 when I had my child. He's 22 now. He's doing good. He moved out of the city, but I am still in the city, and seeing everything that's been happening recently in our communities is really sad, devastating. I spent the morning trying to do what I can with my platform and try to understand how can things have gotten this bad in our community. And just even listening to the presentation is great. I love it, but I just want to focus on what the younger adults said. And is that they don't feel like the adults are helping or understand what they're even going through. And there's so much division. It's like my heart breaks. And I just want to let everyone know I'm here to extend my help with whatever I can with my platform to create programs. I think we're missing a lot of great programs in these schools that when I was younger, I had access to. I had avenues and places where I can go and deal with things that I dealt with when I was younger, because we all have a story. But how can we overcome all of this? I know everybody's very upset, and I would be too. And to like kind of piggyback on what Tanya said, there's a lot of healing and work that needs to be done in our communities, especially with how our Black brothers and sisters are being treated. And, as Latinos, I want a lot of us to remember we are also people with African and Taino roots. That's basically all I wanted to say. I know that someone kind of asked the question, is like, what can we do? And you guys have had some great suggestions, but I think everyone gotta just, instead of just talking, like, how can we move forward? What can we do? What can each district do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Especially not in our neighborhoods. And the denial that things like this don't happen in our neighborhoods, I'm sorry, everybody needs to wake up, porque las cosas sí están pasando a donde estamos ahora, y eso no es algo que ya debiera de estar pasando en este momento, en este tiempo.
Yes, I do. Right. I think that also, Tanya, and
who's talking now?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to make a quick comment. It's Julie again.
Yeah, the time is upon us. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that we have to have these difficult conversations, not even difficult, needed they have to happen now, these conversations about race. And we have to have them overtly in the school setting as well. No one can be shying away from this, and it feels like urgent. And if we're not having them with our kids at school and teachers aren't taught how to have conversations constructively like this, that's an issue. And I'm hoping things move forward in that realm too.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ms. Rose. I think I have Marina Martinez. I think Marina, your question, please.
No, I just want to make a comment.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this presentation. Thank you, Fed. Thank you, Julie and Rita, to put together this presentation. But I just want to find out more about the rules that you say that the school, they should have a clear rules about bullying and consequences for the children that they perform this type of actions. And I think that it would be good if parents in the orientation, they should be informed about in writing about what type of rule the schools they have in terms of that. Because I think that the staff, they need to be educated. The whole staff, they need to be educated, but also the parents. I would like to see more CBOs, more non-for-profit organizations coming together to further discuss this topic. And I think that, like you say, it's gonna take days or months. I think that we need to spread the word in the community. We started today here in this meeting, but also it needs to be spread around the whole community, and everybody should be informed about what you do and what you do if a case of bullying is happening. It could be in the train, it could be in the bus, any place, and how to address it, because really it's something that is increasing. And when things bad happen, it's sometimes that action they've been taking, and we need to prevent those cases, because many lives they gone for this situation that could be prevented, in the first place.
Okay.
Thank you, Faith, for letting me talk.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, Tanisha Grant, thank you so much for joining us. Your question, please.
I don't really have a question, more of a statement.
Okay.
I have lived in Washington Heights. I'm born and bred. I'm 47 years old. My first child, who is 28 years old, went to school in Washington Heights. She still has nightmares about the bullying that she occurred at her school at 28 years old, because she was the only Black child in her school. I lead an organization called Parent Support and Parents New York. Some of you might have heard of it. We are the organization that gives Black and brown students their own computers and do a lot of work in the community. I have been screaming about the anti-Blackness in Washington Heights for years. I have talked to Carmen about it since she was the assembly member. I have talked to Robert Jackson. I have talked to SBI, and now I am talking to Manny. So that lets you know that I am very included. I'm very aware and involved in politics. Julie, I'm disappointed at your presentation. I'm disappointed that you did not mention that Black children have a very high rate of suicide as well. If you're not going to include everyone, and if you're saying that it's a general presentation, then don't pick one over the other. Because you did speak about our LGBTQ community and said that they was at higher risk. And, it's just a slight to Black folk in this community. I think that nobody was going to even mention the anti-Blackness racism if Tanya hadn't, thank you, Tanya, if Tanya hadn't said it. If we're not even willing to talk about what we know goes on in this community, then how are we gonna solve it? I yield back, but I'm here to say the things that other people won't say. And it's just, as a community organizer that's lived in this community all my life, that has been jumped myself, because I am a Black woman. It's not enough.
Okay.
We must do better.
Okay,
Tanisha,
thank you.
for your
Thank
comments.
you, thank you. But
Let me just, it's important. I totally agree that we should have been better at pointing more things out that are of utmost importance. I think my attempt was just to say that bias-based, race, ethnicity-based bullying was very prevalent and posed people, marginalized people and people of color as people who are going to be targets of bullying more often. But I needed to be more overt about that and about what that means. And so I will, revise my further discussions to be just more clear and more true. So thank you, Tanisha.
Thank you. Well, I personally thought that the presentation was well balanced. That's what I thought. That's what I saw, I think. But of course, I understand that we all entitled to our own opinions, and I do definitely respect that. So we take that definitely in consideration. Let's see who else may have another question before we proceed. Tatiana, yes, Tatiana, you have a question? That Julio Batista or Tatiana?
No,
Tatiana, yes.
Thank you, Faye.
Yes.
No, again, it's
Thank
also
you.
a statement about promoting kindness in our community. And just, with Inwood Academy, we're here we always usually do walks in our community, cleaning the streets or things like that. But, just to know as a community board that count on us to, mobilize our kids to promote wellness, to promote kindness, to care for one another. And I also want to say that we offer workshops for the whole community, for parents. We reach out to a lot of parents because sometimes they don't even understand what they're doing, what they're saying is wrong. They're blind to their own biases. And so the only way is by communication, education, and it does help, for families to see, wow, I'm doing what I'm doing is a disservice to my child. And so we welcome, we do workshops every Mondays, mental health Mondays, and ages and stages on Thursdays at noon. We offer everything for the whole community, and we also do workshops for the kids that also parents are welcome, parents, students, and boys and girls groups where they can talk about, put things into practice, right? So just the ideas. Also, if other schools want to implement, they read a book about giving them skills. Like we read the book 13 Things Mentally Strong Kids Do by Amy Morin, and then 13 Things Mentally Strong Parents Do Not Do. So for parents and for kids, and then they put it into practice with social workers. So again, it's a way to put, you have to address the issues and in a way that they don't feel at the same time, nobody feels judged, but more feel included and loved. And so anything that you Tanisha, if you, I would love to collaborate in ways that we can, make it bigger for our community to feel included and loved. We had recently Black History Month celebration, and again, trying to promote Blackness in our school, and feeling a pride in our roots. So I do understand. I'm biracial kids, have biracial kids, and my own kid was bullying another kid for being Hispanic, and she didn't realize that she was Hispanic. So I do understand. Sometimes we don't really see it. And it was because in the school, most of the kids were white. So she wanted to associate with more white kids. So all to say, it's something that is prevalent, and we need to address it. And I'm here with you guys.
Okay, wonderful. Julie, I don't know if you have any comment to follow up on what she said.
I'm okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
All right, so we only have a few minutes left. Hopefully we may have to vote or maybe an additional 5 minutes to conclude our agenda. I know that we have PS 187 on board. I don't know if Emel Tobas may want to add something. She's the other principal for PS 187. At least to say hello, Miss Tobas.
Maria has her hand up, Faye.
Yes, I see her, Domingo.
Just going with what you said. You said board member first.
Oh, sorry. I was just
I
saying
would
good
like-
evening.
yes.
Thank you for providing this space for our community. And I have the kids in the background, so I'm going to mute right now. But thank you for providing this space right now for all of us, Faye. And thank you, Community Board 12 and the Youth and Education Committee and New York Presbyterian for all that you continue to do for our young people and families.
Thank you. I appreciate your presence and your thought. Thank you. Yes, Maria. I would like to chair this meeting.
Thank you. I've been listening to.
I'm being guided.
I'm listening to the presentation,
Hopefully,
and
Pedro.
I was not going to raise my hand because I wanted to hear what other people have said. The presentation was okay. I don't want anybody to think that the bullying is happening because of the pandemic. Bullying has been happening for hundreds of years while we are interacting with the young people interacting with with their peers. I think we had to separate discrimination against gay, black, the Dominicans, the short, the fat, and the ugly. I think we need to do this as a social issue, a really serious social issue that we have among our children. It's a father that is being abusing the mother and the children, and that child goes to schools and he feels or she feels that she can bully or he can bully other peers on their classroom. Is someone that feels that have a little more money than the other and that can dress better, and they bully the one that cannot afford to have very expensive gyms or things like that. I believe that we need to move on this issue aside from or away from the color of the skin, the religious and things like that. That needs to be addressed in another forum. I think we need to pay attention to what the children are going through in the classroom, even including teachers that are bullying. If we are talking about bullying, some teachers really pick on some of their kids more than the others. And that is another side of bullying. So let's be clear. The issue has to be discussed on a different level by people, by professionals that can understand the needs of everybody in our communities equally. And let's stop this bickering between the black and the Dominicans and black and the whites and the pink and the polka dots. Otherwise, we're not going to accomplish anything. I am really concerned about the way this thing was handled. The presentation was great, but it needed to be addressed for what we are living right here in Washington Heights and Inwood. Let's stop it. We are not going to accomplish anything, and we are sending a message to our young people that we are letting them behave that way because we are really not understanding their needs of their family and the structure of our families. People who are being raised by grandparents, people who have only 8 people in one apartment, people who are suffering, and there are all these things is something that they are going to be challenged against each other in the classrooms. So this is my pet, beat, because I'm really concerned about we are blaming those that need to be blamed, but also we are not really coming with solution to our, insecurities and the miscommunication that we are suffering right here in my community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. So at this point, I just wanted to thank folks like Noemi did, PIX from 11 News, Rosanna Diaz, Sania Davis. I just want to let them know that I noticed their attendance and I appreciate their time. And I want to thank you on behalf of my committee. So now that we are about to move to the next section of the agenda, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts regarding this important, topic. To me, I just wanted to say briefly, this is not a question, or maybe perhaps I may have one at the end, but I just wanted to say, this is our goal number one for this year, for this committee, to address this issue. Our second goal will be hopefully a discussion between an update between charter school and public school. I will discuss that later on. But I wanted to say regarding, the bullying, to me, this is something that is very personal, and this is something that we need to pay more close attention. It seems to me that whatever the school system is trying to, the way they're trying to address this issue is not really working. And I think that this topic deserves more close attention and more conversation, not only to discuss the topic for discussing and having presentation here. And no, we need to come with concrete solution, a strategy, but this is not going to be a one individual, like, for example, we're not going to expect that the chancellor will have all the answers. We as a committee, as a parents, we know exactly what our children's, are going through, especially for those who are the victims and cannot defend themselves. So as a parents, we definitely need to come, I will say, in a very, how should I say, aggressive, in the sense that not to be passive and talk about in a passive way, but they should demand from the school to take this more serious. Because I think that as parents, like the incident that just happened, recently in the community, is the parent of these kids were attend to or were aware that they have a kid that is a bully. Probably this incident wouldn't happen, and this wouldn't be the subject, in this conversation. So we don't want to see another incident that happened again, like this. So I really wanted to call all parents in our district and everywhere to please pay close attention to this issue of bullying, because today that was these kids, but tomorrow might be my kids, my grandson, or your son, or your grandson, and so forth. So we need to have a serious conversation. And I wanted to say that hopefully, I'm really going to encourage my committee that this is just the first presentation, the first time we have this discussion, but hopefully it will be more to come. Not only bully, but there has been other topics in here that I think that we would like to address. I think we are a beautiful community. It's so diverse, and we all to get along to each other. So all of it takes will be a good and amicable and respectful communication for us to really come together and find, a solution, at least to propose that. And I wanted to say to our presenter, Dr. Blitzer, so what would be in your capacity and your experience, as a psychologist, regarding this topic specifically, if you would have a message for the superintendent, who is the head of the education in our school district, what suggestion would you have for him in terms of bullying, addressing bullying, and looking at perhaps that he should may wanted to focus on this a little bit more, and in which way we as a community can perhaps, partnership with him to bring the whole community, black and white, red, yellow, everyone, regardless of color, I don't care. So, but as a unified community, we ought to be together so we can help him, and that, we can alleviate this problem. So what would be that suggestion that you would have for him?
Oh, wow.
And thank you again.
One suggestion. I think taking the feedback of committees like this is very important. So I don't know what level of communication you have with this person, but being able to have a forum to make sure that these messages and what's being discussed right now gets gets to him or whoever is in his position at any given time. And having more forums to have conversations as lots of you all brought up today about race, about systemic racism, about all the things that are so entrenched in this city and this country that we don't even talk about them anymore. So we need to have those discussions. In terms of what happens in school, those discussions, as I said, should happen in school and should be promoted and should be sort of imbued in the curriculum academically. But also we need to take the emotional needs and the health needs of the students. That should be the priority first, right? Nobody can learn when they're under stress. Our brains don't work that way, and adolescent brains don't work that way, especially. They are developing. If your brain is under stress, it is only in fight or flight mode. It is only trying to survive. And we cannot retain information or learn information or be good to each other, by the way. So let's take care of the emotional needs of the kids who really need it. Actually, most do. Most, I think, adolescents need support, some more than others. And let's take care of the kids who are most vulnerable, including our Black children of the city, you know, and I really want, that's my goal, is to have schools take this area very, very seriously and do something about it, and not just talk about it, or not just put a policy in a book and nobody ever reads it, or not just say we took one training and now we're experts on bullying, or now we know how to talk to adolescents. No, that's not how it works. It's always a work in progress, and we always have to remind ourselves how to do it. So that's what I would say, is that academics second, social emotional learning first, and then we'll see the academics later. That's what I think.
All right, I'm going to take the responsibility in the eyes of the community that is watching this meeting, that is going to be more to come on this issue and related issue as well. And as I'm always, you know, promote better relationship among folks. We as the community board, we serve as the voice of the community. And I'm really going to do my best to have this voice to go in each and every corner of this community. And I wanted to promise that this conversation is not going to be dead tonight. This will be continued. And I wanted to see something more concrete to happen. And I would love for you to be at the center of this conversation as well. And of course, I'm going to do my best to invite our superintendent, because I think he's a main figure, and see how we can possibly have a civil and amicable conversation. And hopefully we will arrive to some, you know, solution in a very, you know, I say again, amicable, you know, and professional way. So without any further ado, we're going to switch now to the other phase of the agenda. But before, I wanted to say, Dr. Mara Mingus, I want to thank you so much, although I haven't seen your face, but thank you so much for joining us. I know you're somewhere in the corner of this meeting, but I wanted to know that I've been thinking of you and looking at your name and your message. So thank you so much, Dr. Mingus. Yes. So Dr. Blitzer, Nancy, thank you for your presentation and your colleagues as well. So now I would like to move to the new and old business phase of the agenda. I don't know if anyone may want to say something. I think Domingo had his raise up. Domingo, you want to say something?
Yeah, Faye. So I think today, I think a lot of concerns was raised. And I think, like, as you said, bullying being a main priority for you. But I think, like, we could do something around violence and really seek partners to be able to address all levels of violence. For instance, we're talking about hate crimes, hate, you know, and the intersection of all of that is violence. So I think doing some sort of resource fair, I see Julio there from NYP, all of us coming together and truly partnering up with the district. I see people here from the CEC. A very powerful, something powerful could be put together, but not only reacting and becoming reactionary to just incidents that occur, because as we see, they're going to occur regardless if not addressed, right? So as opposed to being reactionary, I think we could put something together that not only we partner up with the district with, but could potentially be used as a model to be able to replicate within other community boards. And because I do see the opportunity of being able to infuse some sort of, because I know they are people like the Harlem Mothers Say, these are all anti-violence groups that already are doing the work, but I think we should start avoiding the reactionaryism and start saying, okay, cool. At District 6, we're doing upstandard. We're doing these fairs. We're exposing our youth to how to communicate in difficult situations, you know? And I think that's important. Julie spoke about it as somebody who works in a school. Some of these schools are late, but some of these schools are already doing the work. Right. So it's how do we highlight best practices so that they could be replicated? And I think that for a community board is very important for us to say, look, we're not going to take this work up together, but we're going to coalition build with the community to be able to address a lot of the deficiencies that we see as a community, because I feel like there are valid concerns. But let's move beyond the reactionaryism and let's start addressing it and saying, OK, let's do this. That's why I say we do a fair. We inject. I know the superintendent has a tech fair in June, but that's what I'm trying to say. Let's not just do one big event. Let's be in all the events and provide these tools to our youth.
Thank you. Yes, Maria. Maria?
I concur with I concur with Domingo. I think that we need to organize better, events in order to negate these things, navigate the issue that we are, addressing here, which should be put aside for a while until we get our act together and focus on the youth. And unless we do that, I think we may talk and talk and talk and never accomplish, too much.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, Al?
Follow up on my chat statement. So the Uptown Youth Collective, which is at this point like a informal coalition among youth providers in Washington Heights and Inwood that have been around for years and years, are having this open meeting on March 30th between 6:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. At IS 52, and it's specifically a meeting that's designed to be owned by the youth and the parents of the community. So in other words, if elected officials come, they could come with open ears but closed mouths, and even the youth providers had to be engaged in listening. We'll move on to, connect people with needs to resources, but we want to have this as an opportunity for those most at effect of violence on all levels to give their witness and testimony.
Yes. I wanted to say, Julio says something that I think is also important. He said that we should use the incident on West 181st Street on the A train on Friday as a teaching moment and have a broader community discussion that includes our school and especially our CBRs. This video went viral and tomorrow forgotten, but we cannot let this horrible incident be erased. I cannot comprehend enough. Absolutely, Julio. Thank you. Yes. All right. Okay. So I think definitely we are moving to the next phase of the agenda. Thank you all again. Stay tuned so you can witness the next phase of the agenda. Dr. Blixit, my heart is, with you and in terms of all of you have done, this evening. I think you really had create a record among us. And this is an unforgettable presentation. And I hope that more to come from you, to this community. Thank you so much.
So
And
much
also
for
your
having me.
team.
I'll come back anytime. And I just want to say that any comments about what could be improved or information that was missing, please email me. I'll put it in the chat. And I
Certainly.
really want it to be complete and thorough and authentic and true. So I do need feedback. And thank you very much. I appreciate everyone being here.
Thank you. So we're going to start by bringing Harling on board, as I always wanted and dream about. We're going to bring Harling and bring Washington High to Harling as well. So let's see how this will play out next time. Jackie, you know it's a promise we have with the community. Yes. All right. So now on the next phase of the agenda, it will be all in new business. I wanted to start by saying, as you probably already saw the agenda, we are going to have our next event is going to be an event that happened decades ago. And this is a conversation that we're going to basically revise, in which the title is Our Children, Our Choices Part 2. And this is an informative discussion with the education official from the New York State, and also from the both from local, also the New York Department of Education. And this is going to be about public school and charter school. We really wanted to basically revise how they are doing, what parent owes to know, the progress that they have done, what exactly is at stake, and a lot of, other important I will say topic. Basically, we're looking for an update where we are standing, these two systems. So we really wanted to know, the parents need to know exactly what was going on. So potentially, this was supposed to happen on the 4th, but unfortunately it wasn't. So there is a great possibility that we may have this on April the 4th. This is what I am proposing, my committee, since we are already skipped 2 dates. So I'm looking for probably that if we get a confirmation on the venue, that is not confirmed yet, but potentially this might be probably on Saturday, April 1st. All right, so I wanted to encourage anyone that may have any announcement. Please, I know that the DA office have an announcement. Let's see. She left already? DA office? It's on board? No? Yes, Domingo?
Yeah, so part of new business, Faye, I wanted to, hold up. She's there?
Oh, espere. ¿Y
Oh,
qué
no,
está
sorry, I think
pasando que
somebody
no
talked.
cogen la llamada mía?
Oh gosh, I'm sorry about that. Yes, Domingo, continue, please. Domingo?
Oh,
Are you with
sorry.
us?
In
Right.
new business, I would like to add, you said the charter school, but I also like to add the anti-violence, doing a anti-violence fair, and being able to try to pull something off like that before the summer begins, being that the summer is when the most incidents occur for our youth. So I'm willing to spearhead that if that's needed. But anti-violence, where we incorporate or all forms of violence, whether it's gender-based, race-based, and I think we could do a good fair of educational forum, as well as a good resource to be able to support people in the healing process.
All right, definitely. Hopefully you will send us an email with that proposal, although it's already recorded, but we can definitely, we can get in depth into more detail as to how you would like this to be unfolded. Yes, absolutely. I think this is much needed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, anybody else has any announcement? Okay, so I guess that this is it. I just want to thank you all for, joining us. I wanted to thank you especially for your comments, for volunteer your thoughts. And I'm looking forward to continue this conversation with you. And hopefully we may have in the next conversation related to this topic, we may have the District 6 involved, the superintendent office, and see how we can help each other, help him and he can help us, especially the parents, so we can have an honest and hopefully fruitful conversation. With that said, this meeting is I call for a motion to adjourn this meeting. And if
So
no
moved.
one- may I have a second? Hello?
1 second, I'm sorry.
Maria seconded. Okay.
Second,
I second.
Who seconded, Maria or who?
Maria, Jonathan.
Oh, okay, Jonathan, Maria, right? Maria, right. All right, so meeting.
Thank you. Great meeting, great presentation. Good night. I'll talk to you.
Thank you, Julio, Tatiana, Tanya, Emel, Topaz, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good
Thank
night.
you, guys.
Don't forget to